Welcome back. It is 2025. A new year, a new quarter century is born. Who am I? Who am I? What is this show? What is my little show? Who am I? Who am I as a specific individual human being? Who am I as a human species? We're going to just be talking. It's a little project I've been doing. Who am I? Who am I? Hold on one second. Ooh. Is someone here? Oh, hi. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So I've been up for a while and I've been riffing this in my own head. Some of it I've riffed out loud, but nothing recorded. I hope I can find my way to my main discussion. What I was thinking of this morning was, I don't have tons and tons of viewers, but I was thinking how lucky I was that I had one person that's listening to my whole thing. It's like you're getting the master class. So much better than if I had 1,000 people clicking in for, a TikTok moment. Then they just wouldn't get the whole picture of what we're talking about. And what is this? We're talking about, I've decided to name this abstract physiology as we discuss the ultimate, okay, abstract physiology or metaphysiology, if you will. We're going to talk about who we are, what our design is, what the design of the physics of the universe is, how the two subjects come together to help any individual manage their own life, understand the crazy drama going on around them amongst others. What are other people doing, in the political arena, or just your neighbors or your family, whoever is off the rails. Maybe you're off the rails. How do you understand this? Also, generally, as human beings, we could take this information and collectively work over our systems, the way our systems are, how we relate to one another, and how there's so much to unpack here. But the question of the day is, who am I? So, for the purposes of this show, I have given myself a name. My name on this show, and it's not my real name, but my name, for the purposes of this show, is Amelie Starchild. That's who I am, because sometimes I have to refer to myself as a name, and I don't really want to get in the habit of saying my real name, although I have one, and it's not a secret. You can probably go look at my YouTube stuff and figure out who I am. I'm not hiding it. I just, this isn't an ego project. I don't want it to be an ego project. Someday my ego might get a stroke from somebody somewhere going, "Hey girl, you got something going on there. You have pulled something together that is really meaningful and quite helpful. Thank you very much." So the question is, who am I? And my favorite aspect of this topic is the inner being. Us as vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and how the rules of all this work. How you are looking at what you are looking at is showing you and anybody else whether you're facing forward or facing backwards, Actually, there's so much to this. What I really need to do is organize this into a master seminar. And you, Indigo, are going to be the one who gets the benefit of that seminar if you're interested in, as I try to cover all of what I cover and not recover it over and over again, because what I do is I have a certain set of neurons and neuron points that I've developed within my physical brain system, and I can, riff back and forth between these points and kind of flesh things out as I go. But I I'm not fully organized with all of this material yet, but I could be at some point, and an ear on the other side definitely helps. If I'm not always having to reset for the main crowd that is, clicking in and out, you know, those TikTok people who are looking for, a hit, they bounce in and they don't really get the fullness of the picture of what I'm trying to say. Only someone who really hears the whole thing can get the magnitude of what I'm saying. And I believe that the rigor that you can take this information all the way to mathematical rigor. You could plot it out in geometry on grids and XYZ, 3D representations of what it is I'm talking about, like the concepts, and these are not all my concepts. I have adopted other people's lingo and jargon and idea points. Very specifically, I've got a lot of Abraham in me now. I have taken Abraham and all that she says deeply into consideration, and I believe her. I can see what she is saying. And it is my determination to honor that and flesh it out even more. We all have an Abraham inside of us. And our Abraham is capable of using whatever words we have to translate their vibration into words, I'm not going to be exactly like Abraham because I don't play the game that she does. I think it's a lovely game. The hot seat game she plays, it's wonderful. She can tell, and actually it's tellable. I can understand why she can tell what vibrational frequency people are in, and get them facing forward again is what she's doing, because she's in her Abraham is pure positive energy. Anyway, we all have this inside of us, and we all have a consciousness. We all have a seat of consciousness, and I believe that to a certain extent, because we are all human beings and we are all in the same species, there is a commonness to the consciousness platform that we all share. And there's a way that you set it up where you are either in alignment with your inner being or not in alignment with your inner being. Now, Abraham talks a lot about releasing, like meditation, for instance, is a process of not thinking. Not thinking. And the reason not thinking is a good idea is because almost all of the physically thinking mind that people engage in, when they engage their physical mind to an enormous degree, it's quite negative. And so everything they think about thunks their frequency down. It bums you out. Most thinking bums most people out. Most people are in a higher state of consciousness when they are not thinking than when they are thinking. And so meditation is a good process because you release thought. It's easier to get people to release thought than to think pure positive thought. But what this little exercise is, my little exercise of who am I, amongst other things, is we are engaged in an arena for an hour or so where I'm not pushing back against anything. I'm sitting in a well of well-being. Everything's always working out. Everything that humanity has ever done and is doing now is blessed and for a reason. We all have an inner being, at least for this hour. This is the perspective that I've got here. And we're just floating in a place where we're, trying to figure out the meaning of life and what's going on. And we're assuming a pure positive. I know that she talks about sometimes the power, the power of a non-resisted thought. And then she goes, actually, the pleasure of a non-resisted thought. So this exercise, what we're doing is something that my girls and I have dubbed, we've coined this term, we call it flying. And it's just, you get into a place where it's and nothing stops you. You never stop and go, yeah, but people will never go for that, or oh no, yeah, but what I've noticed so we're not talking about reality. I recognize, first of all, anybody who wants to accuse me of being my head in the clouds, yeah, my head's in the clouds, but I do it on purpose. But I have a very practical part of me. I know how dangerous the world can be. I really do. I have great respect for how dangerous the world can be. And I have a great desire on my own part for comfort and safety and beauty and, good things in life, delicious food and beautiful vistas and friendly faces and, safe byways and, all of that. But I have a great respect for the, while I look at the world with rose-colored glasses, seeing the goodness in all that I see, I deeply recognize how chaotically dangerous and wicked in action human behavior can be. But from my perspective, it's still only an expression of misalignment. It's still only an expression of misalignment, and I don't care how bad you are. Now, Hitler, if you get all the way to that, oh, Lord help us. But if you get all the way to that, then you're expressing something really interesting in what you have done with your consciousness, how you've set it up, and how you drew the lines, and how you're believing your negative self, and focusing on physical conditions and sure that you are right and righter than others. That's an expression of a certain kind of consciousness that you got to watch out for. It is very dangerous. Obviously, it took us into World War II. And if you know me, you know that I like to say the World War parts 1 and 2. And the reason I like to say that is because I don't want the ordinal World War I, World War II to imply World War III, World War IV. We don't need to do another one. We have done it. We can see what that leads to. Prior to having done that, humanity as a group didn't actually understand how soulless that side could get if you just let it have its way. What that side is, it's a psychic blindness. It's a kind of, Carl Jung called it authoritarian psychosis. And there's a guy out there, his name is Paul Levy, Levy. And he's written a number of books, really good ones. One was Quantum Revelation, I think is the name, Quantum Revelation. And that's really good. It's quite scholarly. I mean, he talks about quantum physics as being a kind of blessing that's going to save mankind. It's what is that kind of blessing? It's a Buddhist term. He has a very interesting history. If you go and look at his history, he had sort of some psychological weirdness in his relationship with his father, who had this Wetiko issue quite badly and scarred him very, very badly psychologically. He ended up in he had a schizophrenic crack up. And what saved him was quantum physics and Buddhist philosophy and the the teachings of Carl Jung. He put it all together, and he's got a particular viewpoint. He calls himself a wounded shaman, and he has really interesting stuff to say about the nature of the human psyche. And if you take his story into consideration and then what he's trying to say and add it into, all of the things that you know, and then all of the things that I'm trying to say, you get a really interesting picture. He talks about Wetiko. It's a Native American term that talked about a particular kind of psychic outlook. It's a negative self. It's when you cross your own energy stream, when you don't understand that you are two beings, and then you get real conditional about stuff. And then you think you're so right. And, the problem is that everybody's right. And so you get stuck on your own rightness without realizing that everybody else is right too. And so you are so adamant about your rightness, but then it becomes a competition with the wrongness of everybody else. And you get crosswise to not only everybody else, but you get crosswise to yourself, because your greater self knows that all of that's not true. Your greater self knows that you are right and everybody else is right too. And so that thing that you do, this is the misalignment. And the great symptom of this misalignment is you find yourself in negative emotion, or as I call it, backwards to your real self. You're facing backwards. You're not facing forwards anymore. And now if you start acting from that position, you're going to get in trouble. The energy field around you is going to be creating not the harmonious, flowing with the whole juices of the group around you in a really satisfying way. Now you're crosswise, and it's like rubbing the cat the wrong way, or trying to row upstream, when the whole thing is flowing downstream at quite a clip. And you, as you're facing upstream, are getting beat up by the stream. That's what's happening. You're crosswise to your own energy. You've gotten yourself flipped backwards. So, how do you get flipped forwards? Well, Abraham has lots of processes, reaching for source. You're trying to reach for source. Understanding the system, understanding who you are, is a really good beginning to this. And knowing how it seamlessly flows with all of the truth about physical reality too. And if you would start here as a foundation, work with the visualizations of Nassim Haramein and his physics. Start with the field of Planck's, because this is who you are. All of this is who you are. You are the Planck field. And actually, who I believe that we really, 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 really are, is the formless energy that is cloaking itself in form and dancing into form, being whatever desire pulls it into being. That's ultimately who you are. And you can identify larger and larger and larger aspects of yourself. You are so many aspects of yourself. You are all the way down to the Planck, and then you are your atoms. and your molecules, your atomic structure. And then you are your cells, and you have some 50 to 100 trillion cells, every one of them an autonomous decider of their path. And fortunately for you, most of them decide to play nice with the rest of them. Some of them go off on their own and decide to not plug into the rest of the group at all and just do whatever they want to do. And obviously I'm trying to describe cancer cells, or that energy aspect that doesn't tag into the well-being of the rest of the field, but only considers its own selfish well-being. Now, I am advising you to be selfish, but not selfish without an eye to the rest of the field. But you actually don't have to have your physical eye to the rest of the field if you have your mind's eye or your heart's eye tagged to the rest of the field. And how you do that is, if you feel in a state of ease and calm, at least, if you're at least there, then you're good. Then you are not running contrary to the field. You are not chaotic to the field. You're not creating storms to the rest of the field that are causing them trouble. So at least first do no harm, right? Now, if you want to actually dance with the rest of the field in a joyful, fun, playful, let's have a good time way, then you want to be more than just not rubbing the cat wrong. You want to be flowing with it. How can you tell if you are? Because your mind does not always have to be thinking about all, because, my husband would be the first person to tell you that I overthink everything. But I don't believe I really overthink, because what I do is I try to align my physical brain that really wants to tear into the meat and potatoes of everything, wants to get into the, I really want to think. I've got a monkey mind that wants to think. But what my project is trying to align what my physical brain knows, at least align it with what my greater self knows. I don't want to be contradicting what my greater self knows. And the way you can tell if you're contradicting your greater self is, how does it feel? If it feels bad, you're contradicting yourself, because your real self is pure positive energy. You are pure positive. You are pure possibility, eagerness, interest, joy, isness. You are connected to the field of physicality, motion forward, becoming better, expanding into more. That's who you are. It's that frequency, it's that energy. That's who you really are. It's the frequency. There is a frequency out there that includes all frequencies. All of the information of all of the multiverse is contained in this frequency. And what this frequency feels like is, it feels like love. It feels like peace. It feels like joy. So if you think thoughts in your little self, as you're trying to find a way to be, as you're trying to find a path to take, as you're trying to find relationships that are satisfying and work that is fun and not just satisfying, but helps you capitalize, because here in this world, we're expected to capitalize. And part of that necessity, at some point we won't all need to capitalize, because we will all remember how to plug back into the field of nature and get our sustenance from nature herself. And we will all be doing that joyfully as humanity, so there'll be plenty of food and abundance to go around. So at some point, this capitalization won't be as dire. Right now, I believe the reason we are forced to capitalize is because we are forced in our capitalization, we are forced to link back with the greater group and add value to them. If you don't do that, you don't get the money. And if you don't get the money, you don't have the ticket to the grocery store. And your kids starve, or they have no rent. They have no roof over their head because you can't pay the rent. You have to capitalize in this world. And up until this point, well, what do I mean by up until this point? So I was born in 1960. And so the world I was born into, and I barely remember it, and there was a life, and I was connected to people who, expressed things to me. But, I don't know how old you are, Indigo, for instance, so I don't know how old my audience is, but most people don't remember what it was like back in the 1960s or the 1970s, and they are not necessarily inclined to go back and watch our television shows and try to get into a state of, where you are really trying to imagine what the world was like when we made Barney Miller, the sitcom Barney Miller, or the TV drama Starsky and Hutch, or the Andy Griffith Show, or I Dream of Jeannie, or, any of those things. Who were we? Who were we at that time? I was really onto something. Because we are humanity. You know that. We are humanity learning. Oh yeah, I was talking about the need to capitalize. And back then, there was a more limited number of choices that you could pick to capitalize. You could be a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or a teacher or a politician. There were names for all of these things, and we name them now, but it's expanded. You can be someone who gets attention on the internet and make money. Doing whatever, whether it's, pornography or sensationalism, whether you're Alex Jones or whether you're, what's the name of a porn star? There was a famous one. I can't remember what her name was. I can't remember the names of any of the movies that she did either, so I couldn't invoke her name. It doesn't matter. You can, it didn't used to be that it was so easy. If you were going to be a person who was behind a venture that was getting lots and lots of attention, and in that way you were making money, you were either working for a television studio or a movie studio, or at the very least a radio studio, because everybody didn't have access to broadcast software like I do. And here I am, Miss Nobody, but I'm somebody. See, that's the thing. Every nobody is really, really somebody. And it doesn't, as long as that's tied to our capital worth, we want to protect it. We want to brand it and make sure that I get my cut of the money, because I still have to capitalize. But at some point, it isn't going to be so necessary when, as humanity, we start recreating abundance instead of, we're in the act still of creating scarcity and arguing over pittances, because we're still trying to play a paradigm of us versus them and competition, and we haven't fully played that out to the point where we've given it up, where we say that's not working for us, that's really not the way. Now, it's funny because the farther you play that position, the more it seems like it's true. Because the more you play it, the greater the scarcity becomes, and the more that we're competing over a scarcer and scarcer pile. But what we're not realizing is that we live in the middle of an abundance creating machine. And the actual paradigm is win-win. And it's cooperation. And if we would start playing it that way, it starts producing that way. Now, you'd think that what I'm trying to say is it'll start working if we can get this word out and everybody starts understanding that it's a, well, that is kind of true, but the good news is that we don't actually have to get this word out for anything to start working. Well, some of the word needs to get out, but what really is going to happen is more and more people are discovering the reality of this quantum field that is the underlying it's what I'm pinning my whole show on. This who am I from two vantage points. One is the law of attraction and the understanding of my inner being, my vibrational greater self, what my emotions really are. Is my negative emotion is actually me crossing my greater self. And so while on the one hand that negative emotion might be in truth pointing out some condition that indeed I do not prefer. Thank you very much for that negative emotion, for telling me that there is a condition out there that I do not prefer. However, when you understand your actual equipment, you understand that in order to change that condition from something I do not prefer to something that I do prefer, it is necessary for me to get in a different state of mind than that negative state that I just got into in my observance of that thing that I do not prefer. And so it's like a catch-22. But it isn't really, not when you always come at it from a vantage point of, okay, I got that negative emotion, but I know who I really am. And who I really am is a positive emotion. And I need to find my positive way in this. And as I do so, I will get the impulses that will help me to take the actual actions that will start to shift that condition out there that I do not prefer. Elephants being orphaned. Walruses having no ice to retreat to. I don't really want to get into a big list, but we do have problems from a physical standpoint. Humanity has problems on planet Earth. It's just the truth. However, from this who am I perspective, you start recognizing the implications and you start realizing from what direction our solutions are going to start coming from. Us understanding who we are, us understanding actually what's possible, us understanding when we understand who we are, as in I am a field phenomenon, which means who I really am, unfortunately, includes you. Who I am includes you. However, I, as an individual, only have control over me. So that's the rules. I only have control over me, but I am a being that includes you. What the hell am I going to do about that? Well, understand this alignment thing. Because when you find your own alignment, you don't have to worry about other people and their alignment. Because actually, as a happy, natural side effect, your alignment helps other people find theirs. They're like, oh, I see that. I that's familiar. I get what you're tagging to. I got it. And I can see my center now. Oh, okay, thank you very much. I can do this. That's what's going to start happening. So you don't have to worry about other people. And the best thing that happens is when you find your own alignment. Basically, the best way to tell whether you have found your alignment, and it's not like a college degree. Once you find it, it's yours forevermore. It's either yours or it's not in any given moment. In any moment, you are in alignment or not in alignment, in alignment or not in alignment. And then what you're looking for is often enough so that you are a person of good humor. You can tell that you're in alignment when you are in good humor. If you are not in good humor, you are not in alignment. Period. 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 So, how good can you get at this? How in good humor can you stay no matter what happens to you? You know, the volcano is erupting down the road. Your neighbor has lost their mind. Your kid is suffering from whatever. And of course, that's going to throw you off. But do you know what? It does not help your kid. It does not help your child for you to go into the dumps with them. Say if they're having a hard time, don't go into the dumps with them. You stay in a positive state and you keep your eye on them while you are in a positive state. You keep your eye on who you know they really are, not who they are being in any given moment. You keep your eye very firmly on what they can do, because as A Course in Miracles will tell us, this is a true thing, only the love is real. The rest of it is not real. And so now we're left with, what the heck does that mean? How to separate this vision. Who am I? Who am I? Oh, by the way, I was saying, as far as this show goes, it's separated into the two categories. The one category is this psychological stuff, the vibrational stuff, the Abraham and the crosswise of your own energy stream and focusing, all of that kind of stuff. There's that aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it is this, you are the Planck field. And then up from there, you are the Planck field coming into atoms. And what is that? Every proton, which is the matter point at the center of every atom, that's the mass at the center of every atom, is a little vortex of the Planck field spinning. And then I got as far as after you get from your atoms, you go to your cells. And then all of your cells have agreed to come under the umbrella of the single being that you are. It's thrown you are... Bruce Lipton talks about this a lot, as he talks about evolution, how the evolution works. The little units get to be as sophisticated as the units can get. And then the next step in the evolution is they come together and form a larger unit. It's not like the next evolution of humanity is not the super individual, but rather the super being, the whole group, as humanity with a capital H, or mankind with a capital M. And my little show is an exercise in mankind coming to understand who she is. I like that, the gender mixing there, because it says it all, doesn't it? Mankind coming to know who she is. And when you understand the physics from this connected, so you have the Plancks spinning into vortices of little protons who are not just little protons, they're little black holes. And as black holes, they contain in their little fractal integerness, they contain all of the information of all of the universe. All of the frequencies are represented in there holographically. And how it does this, I realize that I say this every day. I need to keep saying it because I'm perhaps practicing how to describe it better. The black hole structure and the fullness of space and all of the Plancks touching each other and exchanging all of their information with one another. So they are exchanging all their minute information, but the information is also contained in scales of things. So it's pulled together and integrated, so it's not all just scattered. Uh, um, it's just like you are. Like you are the information of all of your cells, but you're not just all of that infinitude of detail. You come together as a whole, as an integral one that appears to be a single being living a single life. Well, that's the same way with humanity too. I am a cell in the greater whole of humanity that is trying to come into being, that is trying to know who they are, who we are, who she is, who he is, however you want to say it. Who are we? Who are we? We are a superorganism, and we have all kinds of collective systems that affect us all. And there are some aspects of us, some individuals of us, that want to hog all of the good stuff just to themselves. But that's not fun, and that's not even ultimately what they want, what their inner being, what their wholeness of them, their whole selves wants either. But they don't know how to circulate how you can let the good times roll for all of us. Well, I'm going to make a prediction right here. When clean, free energy comes to the table, comes to humanity, however long it takes us to get that one going, it's there. We just have to understand that it's there, and our technical, brilliant, genius minds need to turn that direction and start figuring it out, knowing that it's possible. But as soon as we start getting clean, free energy everywhere, it's going to be a literal shot of energy into the system. There's going to be so much energy. Do you know you have a whole lot of people sitting around twiddling their thumbs, playing video games, trying not to do any harm. They're not interested in full-throated going out and participating in all aspects of humanity, or even they haven't figured out what aspects of humanity they really can get behind, because politics is stupid in a way, because we don't understand ourselves, and so we still think there's an us versus them going on, so that's the Democrats versus the Republicans, or vice versa, because they seem to be diametrically opposed in everything that they want, and in the meantime, no infrastructure can get done. Well, honestly, from this pure positive perspective viewpoint where I'm standing, I think that's a good thing, because I don't want the kind of infrastructure to get done that they would vote in. The kind of infrastructure I would like to get done is the kind of infrastructure where anti-gravity, enormous floating machines, are floating us from one side safely, from one side of the planet to the other, using gravity control, and we're clicking into airports using that kind of a device, as opposed to the fossil fuel burning planes. Now maybe the airports that we're creating now can be converted once we have different kinds of flying machines, but I don't want trillions of dollars to be spent on, although the infrastructure down on the ground, some of it still needs to be there, because we'll have horses and buggies and golf carts and some light vehicles roaming around the surface of the planet for a while, perhaps. Then maybe at some point it will only be horses and footprints and hovercraft, so we don't need the bridges. You don't need the bridges that hold the heavy weight. I don't know. I just know that we have this momentum trying to build into deeper and deeper infrastructure technology that is 20th century. And I want it to be 21st century. And I want it to be 22nd century. And I want it to be who we really are and where we're really going. But I don't want to push back against anything because I know that part of why we aren't going there is we're not quite, the consciousness isn't there. We don't know who we are. We don't know how this works. And the process of us learning who we are and learning how it works is going to be the process of going into the technology and figuring out how that works. So, 45 minutes in, and what have I said? Have I said anything? Have I illuminated or elucidated anything? I'm going to go check the chat room, so I'm going to pause my recording for a second and go over to see what's going on. 2 views, average viewing 22 minutes. That means somebody listened for a second. 86. Okay. All right. Excellent. Are you still with me, Indigo? And as soon as you say yes, I will go back to my studio and turn my recording back on. I think it's wonderful. This space you've created, absolutely where my mind goes often. Oh, this is, the reason I have created, I'm going to go back to the studio so that I can turn on the recording again, and I'll keep talking to you. The reason I created this space is because it was happening in my own head. And this has been a long process in me learning how to unleash her, how to keep her ethereal. I want to keep hearing what she has to say, but I want to give her voice. I want to bring her out into physicality so that I can hear her, so that others can hear her. She's so wise. But she's a me that's, she's a me inside of me. And I feel like we all have this me inside of us. It's the Venn diagram aspect. It's where we all intersect. It's where I meet you. It's the point that we have in common. It's the win-win position. It's everything. So I believe that if we could more consciously come to this space and more matter-of-factly know that we share this space with one another, that we could find our peace on earth, goodwill towards each other more easily. I don't want to resent billionaires for their ability to amass abundance to themselves. Now, are they truly creating it, or are they hogging it? It all depends on what kind of billionaire you're talking about. I don't want to resent billionaires. I want us all to recognize that the abundance is there for all of us. And once we have free, clean energy, we can go off in our little groups into the wild and do whatever we want to. We can make our living by one of my biggest the examples that I like to point at is, I think it was season 8, it might have been season 9. I need to go find exactly which episode this was, of the Still Standing show, where Johnny Harris goes around to struggling towns in Canada, and he finds their inner being side, basically. He finds this really beautiful, good humor, strength, loving connection side of them, and reflects it back to them. And then he does a little stand-up at the end of the week or whatever that he spends in the town getting to know everybody and cutting footage, doing interviews and getting to see what's going on. Then he does a little stand-up routine at the end and reflects all of this stuff, his view of them, back to themselves, and makes them laugh and love themselves and love each other. And it's a beautiful show. But one of the shows shows this town that one of the things that they had for a long time was an orchard, an apple orchard, a large apple orchard that produced lots and lots of apples and employed a lot of people, and they shipped apples all over the place, and it was a wonderful thing. But at some point, it couldn't make money anymore because it cost too much to run the orchard because of the fuel cost is what it is to run the equipment, and then you have to pay the employees, but the fuel costs, if you could make the fuel costs go down to nothing, could you then afford to produce apples? Now maybe you need to turn some of it into automation, you know. But the fact that that apple orchard went out of business because it could not afford to keep producing apples. You couldn't sell the apples for the price that it cost to produce those apples. I just can't believe that just doesn't even seem right to me. So once you inject free, clean energy into the whole system, people are going to be, it's going to make sense now, all of a sudden, to make your living doing a lot of things. Family farming is going to come back. That if you have your little space out in nature with a few goats, some technology, some farm machinery, some different things that tag you into the quantum field, and now you're plugged into the abundance creating machine that is nature around you, and you can live, and you can maybe produce your 100 pounds of goat cheese or whatever a year that you then trade with other people so that you can trade for other technologies or whatever the stuff that is possible. I am ready for that smarter world. I am ready for that efficient data flow and information and loving kindness. And let's just recognize the truth of this great biofield that we are a part of. Let's play with it. Let's dance with it. Let's encourage one another to great ideas and useful cooperation with one another. I just can hardly wait for that world that we are evolving to, for it actually to come into being. And the good news about all of this, so one of the things that I mentioned Paul Levy earlier, and one of the things that he talks about, and this is true, we are dreaming this whole venture into being. We are dreaming it into being. So a useful bit of practical advice is spend more time dreaming, daydreaming, thinking about what you want, playing with it in the air. Play with it in the air because you can pull it together in your mind and mess with it quite a bit before you have to commit to it out there in physicality. You can have a whole lot of it done before you step out into the world and turn it into so what are you trying to create? You're trying to create what you want. Well, what is it that you want? That's a good question, isn't it? And all of us are different. I want peace. Peace above all things. Peace above all things. I will take absolute doldrum stagnation peace over drama. So not everybody's like that. Most people actually prefer a certain amount of momentum over peace. Now, I have found absolute peace to a point in my life, and I have now come to the point where I'm ready to stir up some momentum. But I want aligned momentum. I don't want not aligned momentum. And so everybody's different. Now, I'm at a place in my life where I'm not looking to start a business. I'm not looking to start a family. I'm not raising a young family. Now, I have a daughter who still needs my help, who's single and has a child. Now, I know she wants me to help her actually raise her child more than I actually want to help her raise her child, because although I love children, my favorite thing to do is adult things, adult travel and adult thinking and adult, and I will help her find her way. I commit myself fully to helping her find her way, but I'm not as eager to be as hands-on all the time as she would like me to be. And if she ever listens to this particular episode where I'm admitting that, I want her to ask my forgiveness. But I am sitting in the background, and I do help her financially to help her find. We've put I'm not going to say him, his, hers, or anybody's names, but we're helping to put him in school so that he can be socialized and so that she can have some free time to still think adult thoughts and find her adult way. Actually, I got way too specific there. My general thought thrusting that direction was, we are all different in what it is that we want. Some of us want to have many plates in the air, the joy of being able to get into alignment and get 100 plates spinning, and then go out there into the world and interact with this person, that person, da, 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 da. Some people love that. They crave that. They want that. That's joyful. That is, for them, that is the ultimate. And then there are other personalities who the ultimate might be an amazing horseback riding, backpacking, camping trip out into the wilderness forest and have, a moment in nature, where the wolf comes within 20 feet of them and looks them right in the eye, and there is a moment of meaning exchanged between the two as a bald eagle flies over the two of them and cries out, "Caw, caw," or whatever. And that is what makes their spirit soar. Somebody else, it might be, the fast movement of skiing down a mountainside. And for somebody else, it might be, a moment in meditation where their heart and their mind touches the rest of the universe. We all have our different things that, and then it's going to translate into, well, okay, so now I also have a body and soul I got to keep together. I got dinner, I've got these people that are dependent on me, and then I've got these TV shows that I like, and then there's these projects I'm working on and so what do I want, and what do I do, and how do I organize any of that, and how do I prioritize any of that? Well, the answer is get still and then learn to follow impulses right out of meditation. What you're going to start learning how to do is learn your own abstract physiology. Learn your own, who are you? You are two beings. You are your physical self that has all of its physical desires and its physical knowings, and then you are this larger self too. Engage her help, because where she is energetically, she is standing right where everything you love is, all preferences you have identified, everything you care about, where all the energy, where the bliss, where the love, where all of that energy is. She is source energy. She is the source of your energy. Go engage her help in organizing your life. Ask her, well, the question is actually, what do I want? What do I want? It's going to come down to that. You're going to have to find what you want. Where what little you want doesn't contradict what big you wants. That's what it is. Find where the two of you interact. Find the Venn diagram between you and you. You with a little y and you with a big Y. Macro and micro you. Find where you don't disagree with yourself. And in that zone, play. How can you tell when you're disagreeing with yourself? You've crossed your own energy stream and you are in negative emotion now. That's how you can tell. So anyway, it looks like my recording is coming up on an hour. My live stream is just past an hour. That's actually a really good number. My live stream and my recording time almost synced, which means I didn't have a lot of time where I took out of my actual show to, it means I'm not thunking in and out of, I'm staying up in the elevated stratosphere while I talk for longer. And when I look at what's going on in my specific self, it's not thunking me down into the trivial. And I'm not having a hard time getting my plane back off the ground, get to the flying, as my girls and I would have called it many years ago. Let me go back to the studio and just see. All right. So anyway, Indigo, I will probably be back tomorrow. I can't think of a single reason why I will not be. But it's always open. I'm flexible. I like to stay flexible because I want to stay ready to follow an impulse at any given moment. We're going to talk more about how do I follow what I want? How do I find what I want? How do I know what I want? And how do I reconcile what I want with what I need? And the physical realities of my physical life. Maybe I've got children I've got to feed. And so maybe I don't want to do this job that I'm doing, but I have to because, the path of least resistance might be indeed right through that job. Ideally, I believe that all of us can find a path to a life that includes only what you want, given what you know to be true about you and your physicality and your physical relationship with your physical life. But you can indeed follow your bliss and find everything that you want in this world. How do you do it? Pay attention to your inner being. She's the one showing you the way. She is always happy. Think thoughts with her instead of contrary to her. And your life will flow so much better. And we will come back tomorrow and meditate again for a whole hour on this topic. What's possible, who we are, where we're going, why we have reason to hope, how we could pull this together and get over sixth mass extinction and climate change and all of our issues, which are true, but absolutely fixable. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. And what I may start doing is pulling together in a more organized manner segments of what will ultimately be a seminar that teaches this perspective, that teaches this these concepts that I am pulling together under this one umbrella that I call Who Am I? I could do a seminar. It just needs to be organized so that I cover everything and I don't double cover anything. You know what I mean? I think that as I continue to do this work, the clarity of that organization will come to me. And if you want to hang with me, Indigo, I really appreciate your consciousness in the field as I do this. Hopefully, at some point, when I'm ready for them, I would like to fill the room with more physical consciousnesses. I believe there's a lot of non physical consciousness with us here. Hopefully, we can get a few more physical ones with us, but all in good time. So, until tomorrow, I think we've got started off 2025 on a good foot. And until tomorrow, as always, may the source be with you.